Hey guys, back from my trip, and a little different style video here because of the last week thrash, I call it, where I just was up really late, early mornings trying to get this thing mounted. The gas tank completely kicked my rear end, and I'm about 3 videos behind, so I'm going to stitch about all of them together here. This is going to be one kind of long one, and then kind of my season ending video for Bob. It didn't turn out as good as I'd hoped, but have a watch through the video, and again, any comments on how I can fix, where I ended up, that'd be great. Let's get started.
All right, sled heads, back on the tank. I think I'm gonna try to sneak that fuel pump right underneath the seat there. I think that's the only spot I've got right now. I'm gonna run the line up through this channel where the spar would go. I'm gonna loop it around and then go in, come into my fuel filter, and then out to my rail. I think that's gonna work for this year. Again, I got the custom tunnel idea in my head, and this is all helpful to try to figure out how to do that. So onto this, I've got this thing wrapped in foam. I made this little bracket out of this old metal perforated strap is just coming in handy here. So again, I'm just trying to, this can't move. It's completely encased in foam, plus the seat is gonna hold it really tight. So this should not be a problem once it's installed. And I just got to keep it from kind of vibrating in or out. Plus, you're going to have really heavy duty line holding it. So this should be secure enough. And I'll hide the wiring underneath here, and I'll wrap this in some nylon braid where it's exposed. I think it'll look pretty cool. Like a glove. Hey buddy, where's your fuel pump? None of your business. All right, I was a little worried about just mounting this tank and bouncing over moguls with just this thin strap on each side. So in the spirit of using this metal strap, had this idea: utilize these tank bosses that are already here and mold it into the tank, and then I'm just going to run this strap down to my little spacer this year, and I'll put a nutsert in here and then pull these nice and snug, and all of it will be covered up with the seat, and that just gives me another layer of protection when this sled's bucking like a bronco over some serious moguls. Just kind of showing the final installation of the sump on this trail tank. This is a Bean Machine Micro 3-inch OD, 1.5 inch hole in the bottom of the tank that feeds that sump. Goes to an 8 ORB 90 to a pre-filter. So that is just a Earl's pre-filter, -8AN, comes up through here, and then that will end up feeding my fuel pump. Another thing I realized when I was plumbing this was that when I needed to remove the tank, there was going to be no easy way to keep the tank from draining all the fuel out of it. So I purchased this quick connect valve. So essentially it's got a little plunger in there that is, it's called a dry brake. And so when you put them together and they lock, of course with that can arm right there, and they lock into place, as soon as you pop that loose, it dry locks each line, so then I can remove the tank and not have fuel spill everywhere. Just a quick rant about AN fittings, as I've complained about so far. This is my first time using them, but just the fact that each of these, this connects to a hose end on each side, and this connects to the male with the 37-degree locking seal or whatever, and this adds 2.25 to each side. So no matter what piece you're trying to add, you add 4.5 inches to it. So now when I'm over here trying to create a curve to come, here's my, let me see if I can back out here. Here's my line, it's gonna come up over there, it's gonna lay in here, it's gonna follow this tank around. What I wanna do is it's got a curve, and it's gotta go down there, and you can't quite see it in there, but there's the line for the fuel filter. So it's gotta go through there. But when I stick, I don't have enough, it's too long of a shaft. Always the problem. Nobody admits it. When the shaft is too long, it's just as much as a problem as if it's too short. All right, the feed is complete on this tank. So that's my quick disconnect. That this stays attached to the sled. This is anchored here with these 3. These are all tight. This goes up to my rail, like here, as shown before. So now to remove the tank, that's a simple quick disconnect from this dry connect fitting here, and then the tank just comes off, and
and this is the receiving end of that, or whatever. So now I can remove the tank without having fuel leak everywhere. Now I do have a fuel return line that I'm probably just going to run with a nipple right in here. Ideally, you'd like to feed your return down low under the fuel level so you don't aerate it, but it's bouncing down the trail. I think it's going to get plenty aerated on its own. But I'm going to put a nipple in here, and then I'm going to do my tank vent here, and then this fuel tank is finally plumbed. Woo! Yep. That's a thing. Back to work. So the last part of this fuel tank is my feed is now completely done, and I'm working on the return. I have went over here and I've modified my FPR, and I've added a hose barb at a 90 here. This will allow me to get access to that spark plug down there, so when I change my plugs I don't have to remove my fuel system. So I added that. This is going to come, that line's going to come out, and it's going to feed right where that white dot is. And what that white dot is going to be this receiving end of this guy. So this is a Skidoo BRP part number, and essentially this goes in the tank like this, and this is a grommet, a rubber grommet, that once the gasoline hits it, it really it expands and it seals. But also you can kind of see how this is supposed to lay in here. It would be like this. You can see where that barb is, where this part is longer. You will essentially squish that, if I can squish that with my hand, and you'll squish that, and then that'll lock this between. Okay, guy, stop rolling around me. Stop it! Stop it! Last part is a vent. So BRP does a similar situation here, but they use a little bit smaller parts. So smaller grommet. Again, this sucks into the grommet, and then you connect your fuel vent up with this. It's probably going to go on the stock setup. It goes right here where this little dimple is. That's why this trail tank's dimpled where it's supposed to go, but I did order a blank tank so that I could use things wherever I wanted them. So those two fittings, and boys, we have a fuel tank. We have a brand new fuel tank. We have an inch taller. We have a much, much, much better seat. We will have a sump on the bottom that'll suck up every last gallon. Assuming this doesn't become a problem from like what they call it, the siphon effect, where that all of a sudden, gets air and it won't prime. I don't think that'll be a problem, but I'm a little worried about it. But if that goes to plan, then this line here, will go over and connect into my quick disconnect right there. My fuel return will go right there. My fuel vent will go right there. And we're done. We're freaking getting close. This thing's been kicking my ass. I'm tired of being kicked. Like I said in the intro here, I am ready to get this thing done, get it on the snow, and get to weenie roast. Next on this fuel pump repair, the reason that the fire started in the first place was these fuel pump wires got hot. So I was using the stock wiring, which you have right here. You can see those are really tiny wires. Right in here, I think, is what caused the fire. So we're going to use those to trigger a new heavy duty relay, waterproof one I got from Painless. And this is rated up to 30 amps. My pump won't even see near 20, so this is plenty big. It comes with this kit, which I have to mount. And, I'm looking here at all this extra space that I have. That's a joke for people. But I do think I'm going to utilize one of these old reverse spots right there. I'm going to mount this guy kind of back there. And then what comes with this kit is a fuse breaker. This is kind of a neat thing I've never seen before. Apparently there's some sort of medium in there. There you can see what it says there, short stop. There's some sort of medium in there that when it detects a short, it breaks the circuit, and it goes in between your relay and your battery. So it'll say auxiliary Make that on that corner. Auxiliary and battery. Right there. So those two terminals go in between the battery and, in this case, my fuel pump. And I think, again, all the space, I think I'm going to remove the oil tank and I'm going to put it right there. So my relay will be here. I'll feed that and then go to the battery. Kind of been a tricky process trying to fit all this stuff. When you look at this sled, there's just so much stuff. All right, Dunsies. Doesn't look much different, but that's the point. Got my wires back there. They're gonna go up to there. And then I'll hook up a connector here so that I can disconnect it and when I remove the gas tank. Next thing I'm doing is I'm wiring up this super capacitor. So I mentioned this in my last video. This is the, these have these huge Maxwell capacitors in them. What's very cool about a capacitor with lithium is that the capacitor discharges extremely fast and also recharges fast. So in cold weather, while that battery is sort of warming up, and basically I turn the key on, I get some current flowing, that helps. But then this thing, when I go to crank, immediately just releases all the voltage or amps and really whirls over the motor, even in very cold weather. And then if it doesn't start and you let it sit there, then these charge back up and they pull a lot of amps from that, and it really helps warm everything up, and it's just a match made in heaven. And this only weighs a pound and super awesome if you need more cranking capacity. Works the same even on lead acid. Doesn't have to be lithium, but it's just nice to pair it with a lithium because of the lightweight, and they just work together really good. So happy I remembered I had this, and now I'm just going to wire it, and I'm going to kind of mount it right here on this battery here, and then run my power and ground to it. You just hook up power, ground in parallel, and that's it. And don't touch these. There's a lot of power right here. All right, sneaking back in the shop after work, thrashing. We're down to T minus 1.5 days until this sled, it's going to weenie roast. I'm on it, I'm riding it. We're gonna pound some trails, race them around the lake. We're gonna have some fun. But I want to share this very special moment with you. This very special moment is that I got lucky, and not in the way that you think, although I wish that happened. I got lucky in another way. This fuel tank has been kicking my ace, trying to come up with a way to put the fuel sender in it. And on a whim, I called Skidoo and my dealer and asked if they had a fuel level sender and a grommet. It's two different parts from BRP, and it happens, the Skidoo fuel sender happens to be a 0 ohm or 10 ohm at full, 90 ohm at empty sender, identical to the Yamaha one. On top of that, I scoured the globe, I'm not even kidding you, for adhesives to be able to stick and seal my Yamaha metal square plate to this tank, and there was nothing out there. And what Skidoo uses is a rubber grommet. You throw it in there and the fuel expands it and it seals, and it's got like a little ledge on it for that. Both parts are back ordered. I called my dealer. They said they had one from somebody that ordered it, never came and picked it up. It's sitting there. They just put it back into stock today. You can't make this up. This doesn't happen to me. I don't know what's happened. This has never happened to me. If there's bad luck, if there's any luck, it's bad. And so I'm pretty excited that I got lucky. Check this thing out right now. All right, here we go. My fresh box. Miscellaneous connectors. What are you doing? Get out of here. All right, shop's a mess. That's why, 'cause I just throw stuff. This is what you're looking at, kids. That's it. You literally drill a hole in this thing, stick this in there. Should probably latch like that. That's where your wall or your tank goes. And then stick this in that. And it's calibrated for the tank. I was bending my arm. Look at this. I was over here farting around with this. Don't mind my bench. This is what it looks like until I clean it. But I'm trying to figure out this, and then trying to get this to seal with the stupid raised edge that they got. I even cut out my old gas tank because I'm going to throw it away. I even cut out
and then rounded the corners off thinking that I could make some sort of sandwich where I'd have an O-ring on this side and tried to use a hole saw to make an O-ring on this side. What a waste of time. And then I got lucky. I freaking got lucky. Now let's just hope it doesn't burn down. So here's my sender, just testing out the ohms. This is all the way down. This needs to be more raised up like this. You can see I am at 95 ohms all the way down. And then when I ring the float all the way to the top, 10 ohms. 7 to 10, or 6 to 10 is the spec. This is gonna work mint. All right, another day. T-minus 1 day. And that day is today. And I'm sneaking here before work, trying to do a couple more wiring things. I've got my fuel pump. I'm just gonna add a weather pack connector. And then after work, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna try to drill out the tank for my sender and for my fuel return and my fuel vent. And then I am done. That's right, boys and girls, I am done. And I am leaving tomorrow. So, thrash is on, let's go. You know how I said I got so lucky? I found that sender and it's just gonna slide into a grommet in the tank. Well, it's supposed to slide right there. I was thinking that sender was gonna mount on the other side, so now I put the fuel filter right in the way. Lovely. Look at that, boys. Look at that. That's my fuel sender. It went in. I had too small of a drill bit. Bought the closest size I could get. It was a 16th inch too short, or too small. But I was able to wedge that in there with some good old American muscle. Woo! All right, boys, we're wrapping it up. It's getting awfully close. I've got my new AN meth pump feed line. Comes out, goes underneath the tank. There's a recess in the rev tank for the heat exchanger, so that all my lines will run right down the middle. I got my new meth power and ground, which is a full 10 gauge, or excuse me, 12 gauge. This was a lot lighter before. I want to say I probably had 16 on it. So it wasn't the cause of the fire, but I wanted to upgrade it anyway since it's kind of the longest run. I hate this corrugated, but for underneath the tunnel with high amperage lines like this, it'll be perfect. It can't rub through and chafe, and so I'm using that instead of nylon braid. And then up here, we've got the relay there and the circuit breaker there. So I should have good fuel pump, and the fuel tank fits. I got my sender on and it doesn't leak. I got it full of fuel right now. These grommets plugged in here, a little tricky, a little scary, I'm not gonna lie, when you don't know the hole size. So I undersized these, and then I ended up putting like a socket on here and pushing this in, and it made a nice satisfying pop once it snugged up. And this is of course the vent. So I was really worried and stressing about drilling these holes, and it ended up not being a big deal. I used some silicone spray, and they just bloop, popped in there really, really nice. I hope the silicone didn't damage anything. And that's my new sender. Pretty cool. All right, final look before I button it up. All that stuff fit, boys. No idea how. Lots of trials and tribulations here. This thing absolutely kicked my butt. Let's get it bolted on. Called sucker done. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a plumbed, leak-free Skidoo XP trail tank with a custom Dash 8AN fuel system, plumbed, filtered, fed to this thirsty beast. Boys, I'm gonna put the hood on, and I will see you at the roast. Woo! Boys, I'm telling you what, that was a thrash. It is about 2 a.m. I am beat, but she's done. We made it. It's ready to go. I haven't fired it yet, but no reason to doubt it would not fire. It is looking fly again. God, it's a good looking sled, even though it's a hacked up cobble job from Senior Wreck-A-Mall here. But look at this. And of course, stand back. All right. Well, I will see you at Weenie Roast. I am leaving tomorrow. I'll be there all weekend. And I might even try to do the Citizen Drag event on Saturday just to try it out. I've never done it before. We'll see how the sled's running. Who knows? It could blow up by the time we get there. But thanks for tuning in. Sorry this is a long video. This thing was brutal, but we made it. See you in the snow. Well, boys, I made it. I'm up here, Cable, Wisconsin, Lake Namakagon, the Weenie Roast, and got Bob out for the first rip. Didn't go so well. I don't know what happened, but I lost all mouth pressure. And look at this. This tunnel is so hot that it melted my new sender. And look at this tank. That used to sit flush. It's like the whole thing deformed on me. Sagging around. I don't think it was maybe not supported as good as I thought it was or as strong as I thought it was. Ugh. I think she's done. I'm gonna have to ride the flame. This really stinks. I don't know what happened here. But it is so hot. I don't know if you can see this, but I burned myself on that. Just touching that right there. That's why it's wet, because I cooled it down. But it's instantly hot. I mean, super hot. It melted insulation on there. It melted that thing. Thankfully, no leak anywhere. But my God, man. I don't know what happened. Thank God the flame works. Video. Look at this cap. Hear that? That's fuel vapor. I've just cracked the cap. The tank is expanding. It's like turning into a balloon. I don't know if you can see that, but that's that water there. I just threw some snow on there, and it just barely melts on the cylinder closest to the clutch. Then down here, you throw it on here, and she just sizzles. It's hotter on this side. There's a lot of heat.
All right, well, that's a long video. How I left off was there was no fuel vent out. So that's when that cap video, it just showing all that vapor in there, just hot. You know, the fuel was, the tank finally started to come back. So I don't know if it's permanently damaged, but there definitely has some heat management issues. I think heat is swirling around inside there. The tunnel was just hot. I don't know if the exhaust is getting into the tunnel and it might be leaking around the edge. It's just, there's just tons of heat there. So that's gonna do it for this year. You know, Bob proved to be more difficult. You know, when you're R&D in a sled on your own with very little snow time, very little experience, you're gonna have these kind of issues. So I'm gonna regroup, I'm gonna take a break, I'm gonna let my hands heal. They're completely trashed, and we'll get back at it in summer. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care. It's good to see you up there.